Part 18. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shiyu Buletin Chigwa. Chapter 171. The First Hospital. When Shen Jian stepped here, the first thing he felt was a sense of obsolescence. There are traces of time on the tiles and walls, but they are generally clean. There is a smell of disinfectant around, but it is not too strong. It gave Shen Jian the feeling of dreaming back to an old clinic in the real world. But the bloodstains on the ground destroyed this ordinariness. Uncle, according to the explanations of the patients, in addition to the president, there are several directors in the first hospital. These directors are not like the doctors and nurses in the hospital area. They are out-and-out monsters who torture and aggravate others. Take pleasure in your illness. The little girl number 15 is remembering something. There was a bit of fear on his face. My desire to kill was not that serious at first. It was these directors who used drugs, electric shocks, insomnia and other methods to amplify my bloody side, and then it became out of control. Speaking of which, this bloody loli showed a rare hint of helplessness. But the next second it was lifted up again, revealing a sickly face. So, I'm going to cut them all to death and cut them into 10, no, 15 pieces. I want to see blood flowing like a river and start a fight. Shen Jian's face was expressionless. Go deeper. Clatter. 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 Heavy footsteps sounded in front. A young director in a white coat walked towards him, and the corridor lights shone in, dragging his shadow long on the ground. See Shen Jian. The young director was also stunned. Who are you? You are not allowed to enter here. You have violated the rules. He stared at Shen Jian and number 15, who showed a sick smile. An extremely cold aura came out, and there were fresh blood stains on the white coat. Red. This young director is clearly a red-clad fierce ghost. Obviously, this is not the level of difficulty that a Samsung copy should have. The exploration of the first hospital is beyond the reach of a 3-star player. It's a joke. I'm the doctor here. Where can I not enter? But you, so young, don't look like a doctor. Do you have a medical qualification certificate? Young director. Where did you get the courage to tell me? No matter how young I am, I still look over 30. Whether you are 25 or not is a question. And what a mess. No medical qualification certificate is required here. As long as it is approved by the dean, you are the director. The young director sneered. Then he looked at the little girl number 15, I seem to remember you. You are an antisocial personality. We have specifically amplified your murderous psychology for this point. We want to see if you can fully revive the supernatural after losing control and achieve a surge in terror levels. It's a pity that you failed and completely lost control. I didn't expect that you are under control now. That's great. Examples like yours are very research-worthy. The young director became more and more enthusiastic as he talked. The look he looked at number 15 had become naked. It was as if what he saw in front of him was not a fierce ghost, but a living specimen. Let him study it. Hear this. The little girl number 15 trembled all over, feeling as if a disaster was imminent. She was just a green-clad ghost, and the opponent was a red-clad one. If nothing else goes wrong, she will lie back on the cold operating table in a short while, being studied by the pervert in front of her. As for you. The young director looked at Shen Jian again, with a trace of doubt in his eyes. The other party is wearing the white coat here, so he should be a doctor, but he is mixed with a patient. It cannot be ruled out that the other party is a patient disguised. Before he could speak, Shen Jian had already won the hearts of the people. He scolded, I don't have a medical qualification certificate, and I don't even have a work card. Who is more like a fake, who need me to tell you? As Shen Jian spoke, He shook a work badge fastened to his clothes, which had the words Dr. Shen written on it. Our jobs here don't have work badges. The young director said solemnly. Didn't take action immediately. Because Shen Jian's fearless attitude probably means that the other party is indeed a doctor. Haha, what a joke, Shen Jian sneered. Are you still trying to say that the chief doctor here doesn't know how to treat patients? Young director. He really doesn't know how to treat someone. Wrong. I almost got bypassed. When did the first hospital become a place to save ghosts? What has been carried out here has always been the study of ghosts and supernatural beings. It has never been treated. It's the doctor who didn't understand the situation. He was about to speak. Shen Jian interrupted again. The default is to admit, a doctor who doesn't know how to treat, can he still be regarded as a doctor? They're just a bunch of cancers who get paid for nothing. Shen Jian scolded fiercely, and when he got excited, he strode towards the young director. I, Mr. Shen, have been practicing medicine all my life. I only treat diseases and save people. I never ask for anything in return. What I despise the most is you guys who have no ability and love to find connections to sneak in. Today, I will eradicate this cancer of yours for the medical community. The young director was stunned by Shen Jian's words, and felt a little ashamed in his heart. It seemed that he had never treated a patient since he joined this hospital. The torture was enough to kill a few of them. But soon. The young director responded. He smiled sinisterly. Are you taking action against me? It seems that your identity is no longer necessary. You are a patient. What symptoms do you have? Delusion. Schizophrenia. Cognitive disorder. But it doesn't matter. I'll find out later when I do the autopsy. Said. The young director put his hand on his neck. The supernatural beings belonging to the red-clothed level ghosts immediately covered the entire audience. That moment. The little girl No 15's face was as pale as paper. She was horrified to find that her palms had stretched out for unknown reasons and were groping around her neck. At a certain moment, she even began to think that the headless look was cute. This is a mortal supernatural being. It will cause people to pluck their own heads off without even realizing it. It was very difficult for her to resist. Soon there was a feeling of inadequacy. Obviously, she was suppressed in the supernatural duel. When the suppression reaches the limit, she will also trigger a fatal curse and remove her head. While sweating, the little girl looked at Shen Jian. I want to know what method he can use to defeat a red-clothed evil spirit that has activated its murderous pattern. Then, she saw Shen Jian take out a white bone rod from his body. As if unaffected by anything, he strode like stars. He picked up the white bone stick and smashed it towards the young director. Little girl No 15? Young director. Why aren't you affected by my supernatural powers? I am a redcoat level person. Even if several other directors come over, they will not be able to withstand my supernatural attacks without stopping in advance. See this? The young director showed a hint of panic. Want to pull away? But it's too late. Shen Jian had already arrived with a morning stick. He hit him with an ordinary stick. At least that's what the young director thinks. This stick does not have any special means, it is just attached with a little yin qi. He thinks that he has an amazing mind and terrifying strength at the red level. Even if he is to take a stick from this human being, he will not be able to do it even if he thinks about it. What's the big deal? The thought echoed in his mind. The right hand has already flexed its fingers. I want to take advantage of the break between the beatings of the morning stick to exchange injuries for injuries. He is a fierce ghost and Shen Jian is a human being. Even if the injury is exchanged, he will not lose at all. At that moment, the young director had already thought of several countermeasures. Boom! There was a heavy roar. Director Zhu felt that his mind went blank, as if he was about to lose his mind, and he was dizzy. What's the plan? What counterattack? They all went to see ghosts. The young director felt that even his thinking seemed to have stopped. Bang bang bang. Then came the second stick and the third stick. The wailing sound echoed throughout the entire corridor. The little girl number 15 had a dull look on her face. When did all the red-clothed devils become the target of being beaten? Is there a problem with her or with Shenjian? This is incredible. Fortunately, she knew the current situation at the time and gave up resistance directly, otherwise she would have ended up like this. The white bone rod was so thick and big. If it hit her, she would get chills just thinking about it. Stop, who are you? Who allowed you to do it here? The beatings continued. The huge movement attracted another director on the same floor. Director G, save me. The young director saw this and asked for help. Shen Jian stopped beating and looked around. It was a middle-aged director with a thin body and sharp eyes who walked out of a department with a dissection knife in his hand, which was covered in blood. There was a purple light on in the room, and a bloody woman's body was lying on the operating table. At this time, Director G was in a very bad mood. The gaze he looked at Shen Jian became even colder. If you dare to cause trouble here, you will be sent to the psychological counseling room later. I will teach you these patients the rules. Hear this. The little girl number 15 trembled all over as if some kind of memory had been awakened. The sick smile on his face was replaced by a hint of fear. This so-called psychological counseling room seemed to be a taboo for her, and just hearing about it would cause panic. At this time, Director G also noticed the little girl's reaction. After pondering for a while, he suddenly said, "It's you, number 15. I propose to dissect you directly at the beginning. If the dean hadn't wanted to see your potential, you would have been on my operating table. Now that you are here, let me see what progress you have made. There must be a conflict between you, don't hide it, let it out." Director G spoke sadly. The sound seemed to have some kind of magic. Another red-level supernatural shroud. The ghostly voice curled up. For a moment, the little girl number 15 felt like she was in a trance. She suddenly remembered that along the way, this uncle had done all kinds of horrible things, without any regard for her feelings, and made her, a weak, pitiful and helpless little female ghost, participate in the battle between the red-shirt classes. A surge of sadness surged into her heart, causing little girl number 15 to almost blurt out and vent her dissatisfaction. But when she looked at Shen Jian, when his eyes noticed the thick white bone rod, his voice was stuck in his throat. Wrong. Am I crazy? When will it be her turn to vent her dissatisfaction with this uncle? He is not an amiable and warm-hearted uncle next door, but he can also let himself act coquettishly and get angry. If you really curse out loud, what will come to you is probably not to be comforted softly, nor to be reasoned with, but to be pinched by the other party's neck and then served with a big pussy. What's even more terrifying is that she can't be sure whether this is the punishment. After all, the more terrifying stick has been taken out. Think of this. The little girl number 15 couldn't help but turn pale, with cold sweat breaking out on her forehead. She covered her mouth tightly and made a wee-wee sound. Then he looked at Director G with hatred. This bad guy actually wanted her to die. She could only use this method to delay it. After all, it was a supernatural attack by a red-clothed ghost. Under the influence of the ghost's voice, she had to vent her dissatisfaction, otherwise her whole body would feel as uncomfortable as 10,000 ants crawling, almost to the point of heartbreaking pain. But the fear caused by Shen Jian forced her to fight against this supernatural attack with strong willpower. See this. Director G was a little surprised. What a strong willpower. Number 15, you are indeed a treasure. You can actually resist my red shirt's supernatural power with your green clothed level. But your partner is different. His hatred for you seems a bit big. Little girl no 15. She looked around. Shen Jian was seen with a cruel smile on his face, and he was cursing, as if he was venting his dissatisfaction. The little girl panicked. What's the situation? When had she ever made this uncle so angry? Is it because she didn't have the eyesight to follow her to the door of the nun's room? She was wronged. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shi Yubuletin Chigua. Chapter 172. Chapter 172 Hypnosis, Instructor. In the empty corridor. Director G, who was skinny, looked at the masterpiece in front of him with great enthusiasm. The young director, who was beaten until he curled up on the ground, also looked on with surprise, but he still had a doubt in his heart. Obviously he and Director G had the same level of terror, so it stands to reason that the effects of supernatural attacks would be the same. But now, his supernatural power has failed. Director G's suggestion took effect. This puzzled him. The other side. The little girl number 15 also watched in horror as Shen Jian fell into supernatural influence. In her mind, she had already recalled everything she had done since meeting Shen Jian. She is obviously the victim. What is this uncle angry about? Under the eyes of the ghosts, Shen Jian seemed to recall something that made him angry. His whole person was completely affected by the supernatural, and he cursed, as if he was organizing words to vent his inner dissatisfaction. Finally, he seemed to have thought about it. The two directors also laughed sinisterly. I want to know what kind of cruel methods this patient pretending to be a doctor will use to vent his dissatisfaction on his companions. But who knew that Shen Jian strode towards them and cursed? Doctors, doctors, save lives and heal the wounded, but look at you, one is twisting people's necks, and the other is deliberately creating internal conflicts. How do you look like a doctor? You are clearly a street kid with a third-rate education. You guys really deserve to die. Director G? The two directors were a little confused. Are you looking for the wrong person because of your contradiction? I'm obviously using a supernatural attack on you and patient number 15. Why are you targeting us? Director G didn't have time to speak. The more Shen Jian spoke, the more solemn his face became. There is a light of righteousness that can save lives and heal the wounded. Today, I will clear the door for the medical community and eradicate you black sheep. Director G is suspicious. The other party seemed to be really affected by the supernatural, but his actions were beyond his expectation. And the opponent's speed is getting faster and faster. In just a few words, she had already arrived in front of him and raised the white bone stick that made his heart palpitate. You. He didn't finish his words. He saw that Shen Jian had knocked down hard. At that moment, he finally understood why the idiot lying on the ground did not choose to resist. There is no resistance here, this is clearly going to happen. Bang bang bang. The morning stick was struck rhythmically. Director G screamed rhythmically. For a moment, the atmosphere in the corridor seemed extremely harmonious. After a severe beating, the two directors huddled against the wall. Shivering, Shen Jian let out a breath. He said fiercely, besides you, how many fierce ghosts are there here? 1. 2. In addition to us, there is a supervisor who is responsible for psychological counseling of patients. He is in the psychological counseling room. The remaining one is the dean. The dean often hides in his laboratory and is busy. The young director was beaten twice and was completely frightened. He betrayed others in one fell swoop. It's worthless. Director G secretly spat at his colleague. Wanderer, traitor, coward, not a man, and other words appeared one after another. Shen Jian raised his eyebrows. It's just a research team of 4 people. This is too little. But it also illustrates the preciousness of the 2 people in front of them. It seems that it cannot be collected for mining. Think about it. Shen Jian asked, "Do you know what I'm here to do?" Director Ji shook his head. "Who knows what you two patients are here for?" He thought it was some lunatic who was not afraid of death and wanted to attack the number 1 hospital. Snapped. A big guy walked over. "I've already said that I'm here to clear the door for the medical community. You still don't know? Do you deserve a beating?" Shen Jian cursed. Then he walked towards the young director. "Now you know what I'm here to do." The young director sneered, "Clean the door for the medical community." Shen Jian nodded with satisfaction. He looked at Director Ji again. "Do you know our purpose of clearing up the medical community?" Director Ji snapped. "I don't know, of course it's to occupy this place and become the new dean." Shen Jian hated the fact that iron was not enough, so he slapped him again. Then he looked at the young director. "Do you know our purpose?" The young director nodded, "Kill the dean, rob the hospital, and become the master." Shen Jian nodded with satisfaction. He walked towards Director Ji again. "Director Ji. Wait, can you ask from there first?" Shen Jian was non-committal. "Go to the young director. Where are the psychological counseling rooms and the dean's laboratory you just mentioned?" "The psychological counseling room is on the 3rd floor, and the dean is busy with his own little experiment on the top floor. There is a reminder on the house number." Shen Jian nodded with satisfaction. Director Ji was overjoyed. Because when it comes to understanding this first hospital, he is much better than the other party. Not to mention the specific location, he also knew about the supernormal abilities of the supervisor and the dean. Answering these questions is not easy. "Do you know where the dean's treasured ghost heart is?" Director Ji? What the hell? Why don't you ask me about the other 2 supernatural powers? Snapped. When he was confused, another big guy slapped him. "You don't know anything about it, so you can just make a living here. It's really a bargain." Director Ji. He was confused and stupid. His ferocious face seemed to be uncontrollable. His eyes were fixed on Shen Jian, and his anger was self-evident. "What? Still want to try?" Shen Jian took out the morning stick and looked eager to try. "Director Ji, I/U0026 amp. Don't dare." He lowered his head in humiliation. At that moment, he seemed to hear a click. That was the sound of his heart breaking. Psychological counseling room on the 3rd floor. Manager Zhang also heard the sound downstairs, and a picture suddenly appeared in his mind. A patient seeking death accidentally broke into this number 1 hospital. The chief doctor who came over after hearing the noise killed him in a cruel way, then placed the body on the operating table and performed an autopsy. A moving wailing could be heard on the operating table. Soon, Manager Zhang heard the sound of sticks beating, and the moving wailing he imagined, but this wailing sound seemed familiar. It should be that the young director was careless and underestimated the enemy, and the opponent's number was so large that he did not pay attention for a while and suffered a small loss. At this time, he heard Director Ji's voice again. This shocked him and made him look confident. Director Ji's supernatural attacks are most suitable for targeting multiple people and can trigger civil strife again and again. He had the picture in his mind again. Director Ji activated his supernatural powers, and the patients who attacked the number 1 hospital all pointed their conflicts at his teammates. The originally orderly gang suddenly turned into enemies full of resentment and anger, and they turned against each other one after another. Then, the familiar sound of beatings with sticks began again. This time, the one wailing seems to be Director Ji. Illusion. This is definitely an illusion. 2 red-clad devils launched an attack. Unless all the patients in the mental hospital came running over, it would be impossible for the 2 chief doctors to fall into such a situation. This is most likely the scream of a patient who can simulate sounds. Manager Zhang thought so. Then I heard the elevator stop. He subconsciously walked out of the counseling room and saw a doctor in a white coat appearing at the elevator entrance carrying a white bone rod. It was Shen Jian who came. He also saw Manager Zhang standing at the door and walked over enthusiastically. "Hey, isn't this the manager of so-and-so?" said. Shen Jian narrowed his eyes and looked at the other party's work card carefully before continuing. "Old Zhang, yes, that's Lao Zhang. I didn't expect that after so long, you have turned from a little scoundrel to a supervisor. It's really a dung beetle looking for dung and a class jump. You still remember me, right?" Manager Zhang twitched the corner of his mouth. "Do you really think of yourself as an outsider? There is no avoidance in acting." His expression began to become more and more dangerous. The other party must have some real abilities to get here past the two directors, but this is the psychological counseling room, and it is the territory of his supervisor Zhang. He is at a higher level than the director. The level of terror is naturally higher than that of the two directors. He could easily play with the human being in front of him, but since this person was so brave and took the initiative to come to the counseling room, he naturally wanted to torture him in a better way. "You are not our doctor here. You don't have to be afraid. The first hospital is a place to treat diseases and save people. It is more professional than a mental hospital. We have treated many patients like you. Come, follow me, and I will take you to treatment." Manager Zhang extended his hand very generously and spread his other hand to one side to show that he did not pose any threat. This is the best way to approach a mentally ill person. Of course, you have to add his supernatural abilities. As he opened his mouth, the ghostly voice also echoed in the corridors, making an echo of shouting "Das Han." Shen Jian paused. A flash of surprise flashed in his eyes. Is the supernatural power of this fierce ghost hypnotic? So wonderful. He immediately thought of countless ways to use it. He must get this supernatural power. Shen Jian said to himself and changed his plan. He needed to find out if this supernatural power was the hypnosis he imagined. The indifference on Shen Jian's face turned into suspicion, and he said with a hint of disbelief, "How do you know?" "Nonsense." Manager Zhang's mouth twitched again. "No one here beats people with sticks like this." Manager Zhang suppressed the twitching of his facial muscles and maintained a spring breeze-like smile, "Because I am also a doctor, and my medical skills are more professional than others." Shen Jian hesitated. "I am really a doctor, but I'm not from your place." "I believe you." Director Zhang smiled slightly. "Look at the stick in your hand, the medical device. You should be a doctor in the fracture department. Situations like yours are very common. Generally, we are doctors. In fact, we are all facing huge psychological pressure, and it is inevitable to suffer from mental illness, so there is no need to avoid it too much. By the way, what disease do you suffer from? What symptoms have you had?" Manager Zhang took back his hand and said harmoniously to Chun Feng. Shen Jian pondered for a moment. "If I'm not wrong, I should be suffering from mental illness. Since I got this disease, don't tell me, I have become more energetic. I can't sleep every night and like to go out and run around." Manager Zhang. "Goddamn psychosis makes you energetic." Veins popped up on his forehead, and he could hardly control his expression. He increased his supernatural power again. Generally speaking, too much supernatural power will cause the patient to freeze immediately, but the person in front of me can still talk nonsense, so he should be able to hold on. "Really?" He saw Shen Jian's expression begin to change. "My illness? No, I'm not sick. No, I'm sick. I have severe delusions." "Hear this?" Manager Zhang finally smiled. He needed to use all his supernatural powers to forcefully hypnotize him. This patient was really powerful. But under his supernatural power, all these illusions will be torn apart. "What disease did you have and what symptoms did you have?" He asked the previous question again. I have severe paranoia. I always imagine that I am King Yama and want to rebuild the underworld. For this reason, I entered here to catch ghosts and fill the vacancies in the 18 levels of hell. Sometimes, I also fantasize about being a president, a kindergarten director, a school principal, a hospital director, a community administrator, a teacher, a plumber, and sometimes an old man who threatens a beautiful wife. Manager Zhang finished listening. The whole ghost is bad. On the one hand, he heard that the man was so rebellious that he called himself the king of Yama, rebuilt the underworld, and wanted to catch ghosts everywhere. On the other hand, I always feel that the professions imagined by the other person are somewhat familiar, and they seem to often appear in some special film and television works. Damn it, you kid knows how to fantasize. Manager Zhang almost lost his temper. But after 2 questions, Manager Zhang was basically sure that the hypnosis was successful, so he asked the most important question: have you had any experiences in your life that are the most impressive and unforgettable? They can be a painful memory, the most guilt-ridden thing, a bizarre experience, often accompanied by screaming, wailing, and fear. What should I do if it doesn't happen? Suddenly, Shen Jian asked. Manager Zhang? How could it not be? You are all mentally ill, how is it possible that you don't have some bizarre experiences? Does it count as exciting? Manager Zhang. Exciting, probably refers to shocking, bloody, and violent things. Yes, that's what I'm referring to. Shen Jian fell into memories. There are many, let me talk about the most recent one. I am a doctor and I have to treat a patient with dual personality. This patient has 2 personalities of husband and wife at the same time. His wife is the main body and the husband are the split sub-personalities, and the source of the conflict between the two is the husband's cheating. So, I took a radical approach to treatment. In what way? Manager Zhang asked. This lunatic actually made him pretend to be a doctor to treat other patients. Everyone in the mental hospital is dead. I told the wife that since her husband could cheat, so could she, and as their attending physician, I had strict professional ethics and would never expose this matter, so I became the wife the person he cheated on. Manager Zhang. I am super, you know how to treat. No wonder you fantasize about these professions, I bet you have actually practiced them. Then what happens next? Won't that husband's personality cause trouble? Shen Jian was stunned. There seemed to be silence. What's wrong? Is something not going well? Damn it, Shen Jian also said, annoyed this time. Yes, why did I let my husband's personality fall into a deep sleep at that time? It is obviously more exciting for him to stay awake. Damn it, I actually forgot about this. Manager Zhang. He felt like something was stuck in his throat. Don't know what to say. It's really an exciting experience for you. But that's not what I'm asking about. Manager Zhang looked ugly. The meaning of the existence of his psychological counseling room is to use the power of hypnosis to evoke the most painful and unbearable experiences of the other party, and then through in-depth research, completely drive the other party crazy, make the condition worse, and finally transfer it to the dean. But now, wherever the other party is in pain, where it is unbearable to look back. He even suspected that as long as he continued to ask, the other party could tell a lot of similar exciting experiences. Although he was a little moved. Etc. At this time, Manager Zhang was suddenly stunned. The more he thought about it, the more something was wrong. The birth of a mental patient must be formed through a period of pain that he does not want to recall. As for the patient pretending to be a doctor, how could his experience lead to mental illness? He will only be beaten into a fool by his master. The other party will suffer from mental illness, and this incident is by no means a trigger. In other words, the other party still has the ability to resist. Was he really hypnotized by himself? Was he really talking about his deepest secret? The thought of this His expression changed greatly. He looked up suddenly. He happened to meet Shen Jian's smiling face. Lao Jiang, isn't it exciting? I forgot to mention that I actually have another fantasy profession, which is a school counselor, and for this, I need to use your hypnotic powers. Said. The shadow behind Shen Jian suddenly lengthened. A three-dimensional black figure completely condensed by shadow rushed into Director Zhang's body. When it reappears, there is already a beating ghost heart in the hand. It's good to be a red-clothed powerful ghost. All of your supernatural power is pinned on ghost heart. Otherwise, I would have to control you. It would be too difficult for me. Shen Jian clicked his tongue. Your supernatural powers are very useful, now they are mine. Come, Director Zhang, tell me, are you married? How old is your wife? Is she beautiful? When do you plan to have children? As the director of the hospital, I can do this for you. Shen Jian's voice echoed in the empty corridor through the beating of the ghost's heart, with waves of echoes coming. Manager Zhang's pupils were dilated as his supernatural powers were taken away from him. His eyes gradually became trance-like. It's over. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shi Yu Bulletin Chi Gua. Chapter 173. The top floor of the first hospital. There were no lights here, it was very dim, and gusts of wind whistled in the corridor, accompanied by a crunching sound, as if a screw was loose somewhere. At the end of the corridor is the dean's office. A tall figure in a white coat stood here. Under the gold-rimmed glasses, there was a pair of gray-white pupils, full of a strange, dead atmosphere. There is an identity card on the table. King. He listened to the constant sounds downstairs. Look indifferently. He was already analyzing the situation in his mind. In addition to the patients, there are only two directors, a supervisor, and him, the director of the hospital, in the entire number 1 hospital. This is for reasons of concealment. Using patients for research is a taboo in hospitals. Once the outside world knows about it, not to mention the number 1 hospital, even the mental hospital and Huangquan hospital will be destroyed all at once. If he wants to win the beauty, he cannot expose the research here. But today, an unexpected guest broke in. He has passed the blockage of 2 directors and 1 supervisor, and his strength is definitely at the top level, at the red level, basically on the same level as him. He waited. I found that I couldn't leave such a terrifying level ghost behind. If the other party is allowed to leave, the secrets of the first hospital will be exposed. Abruptly, he looked at the glassware in the office next to him, which contained a beating ghost heart. Anyone who messes up at this time will die. At the same time, the little girl number 15 also led the 2 directors to the 3rd floor. The 2 directors immediately saw Director Zhang squatting in the corner with a black face and sympathy for the same problem. The 3 of them made eye contact, and everything was lost in words. It was not that they chose to surrender, but that the enemy army was too strong. Very good, everyone is here. Let's go to the top floor. This mental hospital needs a new owner. Shen Jian said. All the way to the top. On the way, Director Ji broke the news one after another in order to atone for his crimes. Actually, Dean Wang is also a mental patient. He suffers from a severe disorder of consciousness. In his cognition, black and white are reversed, and good and evil are confused, and his supernatural powers can also follow these distorted cognitions. Everything turned out the way he wanted it to be. The research of the first hospital is also based on this. We dissect the patient, complete the study of the pathology, and then hand it over to Director Zhang for hypnosis to guide out the greatest evil in the heart and increase the resentment in this area without limit, so as to enhance the supernatural power and even let the supernatural power change with oneself. This number 15 is one of the failures. Hear this. The little girl said angrily, "You are the failure, and your whole family is a failure." Shen Jian was thoughtful. Weird idea. But coming from a mentally ill person, that's all normal. Haha. At this time, a strong and powerful sinister laugh sounded. The sound of clattering footsteps came from the end of the corridor. The tall figure walked out, holding a heart in hands. The overwhelming yin qi is sweeping across. The four fierce ghosts present were all stagnant. A failure, an outsider, turned this place into a mess. You guys are really useless. The tall figure spoke in a calm tone, but his words made the three supervisor Zhang present look terrified and silent. Because he was the dean of the mental hospital, the owner of the first hospital, and a top-notch red-clothed ghost close to the Ghost King level. No one would be surprised by his words. Are you guys planning to side with each other now? Dean Wang spoke. The tone was quiet. The three of them were sweating profusely. The fear of the red-clothed ghosts disappeared at this moment. They looked at the dean and then at Shen Jian, who was standing silently aside, feeling extremely tangled in their hearts. I wanted to walk over, but I recalled the fear of being controlled by the morning stick. But go ahead, the dean's fear is also deeply rooted in people's hearts. I understand, Director He, you are the last one to come to the first hospital, and you may not have established your understanding of me yet. I will let you see what it means to have deep psychological fear. Dean Wang looked at the youngest director and said quietly, Director He, is your head still on your head? I think your head should be in my hands. He opened his mouth. The young director's face was full of fear. The other party was actually using his supernatural powers to deal with him, and all his supernatural powers were suppressed. Click. In panic, his head dropped, rolled to the ground. The young director's rolling head stared intently at the ghost heart in Dean Wang's hand. It's this ghost heart. Otherwise, how could he be completely suppressed and even lose his head in a single battle if he was both a red-coated leveler? Not dead though. But it also suffered unimaginable heavy losses. The little girl number 15 looked at the scene in horror. In one sentence, a red-clothed ghost that she thought was invincible lost the ability to resist. Is this the scary thing about hospital directors? The so-called attack on the hospital was indeed just a delusion. With this ability, the hospital director is simply invincible. 15th. Dean Wang looked at number 15 again. At this time, Shen Jian spoke. Xiao Wang, do you still remember me? I am Dean Shen. His words caught everyone's attention. Dean Wang glanced over and looked at it. Dean Shen? Who gave you the title of Dean? I was thinking, how about it, does it sound good to me when I call it Dean Wang? God thinks so himself. He thought that the other party really had a great background. Dean Wang twitched the corner of his mouth slightly, and then looked at Shen Jian with a sinister look. Outsiders, you have messed up my place, and you have a way to die. I will satisfy you now. Shouldn't your head be broken? The cold voice came out, and a trace of blood flashed in the grey pupils. The heart in his hand was beating like a war drum, making violent reverberations. These are two kinds of supernatural beings. One is to unconditionally suppress the supernatural power of a ghost. One is Dean Wang's own supernatural power, which distorts reality. The superposition of two supernatural powers means that even if the Ghost King comes, it will still be used as material on the operating table. Shen Jian tilted his head. For the first time in so long, he felt like he was being attacked by a supernatural being. Although the impact was minimal, it did affect him. Shen Jian stepped forward and walked step by step. Dean Wang's pupils shrank. Invalid? How could it be invalid? Damn it, you would have died a long time ago. In a medical accident last night, your belly was opened, your heart was slashed, your throat was cut, and even your limbs were disintegrated. I remember it clearly. Outsider, you shouldn't be able to move. You are already a dead person. Dean Wang was unprecedentedly serious and described an extremely complete death scene in detail. His supernatural power can distort reality. As long as he can deceive himself, everything he says will come true. In his heart, he has decided that Shen Jian is a dead man. But now, the dead man is moving. And there is nothing unusual about him. No, that's impossible. What kind of monster are you? Dean Wang's eyes were filled with blood and tears, as if he were crazy, and his gray pupils were covered with bloodshot eyes. Everything in his imagination was completely different from reality, which would destroy the cognition he had finally established. The only result of collapse is crash. Shen Jian stopped. Tisk. Xiao Wang, stop struggling. How dare you, a mental patient, be so disrespectful to me, the self-proclaimed dean. Determining someone else's death, right? Let me show you what it means to determine someone's life or death. Shen Jian took out a booklet from his body. Weird Object Book of Life and Death, exclusive to the judge. Introduce : He took out another pen holder. Tricky Object Judge Pen, Judge exclusive. Introduce : Xiao Wang, this is called the Judgment of Life and Death. Said. Shen Jian opened the first page of the Book of Life and Death. A little bit of ecstasy. Dean Wang, who looked like a madman and seemed to be suffering from cognitive impairment, suddenly trembled all over and fell straight to the ground. Everything was silent. A top-notch red-clothed fierce ghost that was close to the Ghost King level just fell into a state of panic without any sound. Dean Wang, died. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shi Yu Buletin Chi Gua. Chapter 174. Dull. Shen Jian, holding the Book of Life and Death and the judge's pen, looked at it expressionlessly. On the Book of Life and Death, an obvious line of words appeared. Wang Cai, the dean of the psychiatric building, is a red-clothed evil spirit. Ghost life experience, abbreviated. After these information. It's a big word of death. The Book of Life and Death determines life and death. The King of Hell wants you to die at the 3rd watch, how can he keep you until the 5th watch? Even a top-notch red-clothed ghost close to the Ghost King level couldn't withstand a tick of his judge's pen. It's just that this kind of fighting makes Shen Jian feel boring. As the yin qi continued to grow, his level of terror also reached the level of a top red-coated ghost. Even without the priesthood of King of Hell, he was equivalent to a red-coated fierce ghost at this moment. In addition, the 3 major clergy of King Yama, King Qingguang, and King Chujiang have 99% weakening effect of the pressure of ghosts and gods. Not to mention approaching the Ghost King, even if the real Ghost King comes, you can only pretend to be a grandson in front of him. How about resurrecting him and whipping his corpse? Shen Jian was ready to make a move. The love rival finished playing so quickly, which gave him no pleasure in winning. I just feel extremely empty. Needs a little bit of recess to fill out his strengths. The other side. Director Ji, Director Zhang, and even the little girl number 15 were so frightened that they could not speak. The power of words seemed so fragile in front of this scene. Shocked, horrified, unbelievable. These emotions echoed in their minds. It's unlucky that he actually stabbed me. At this time, the young director's fallen head was picked up by the headless corpse and put back on the head, with a look of deep fear on his face. Where's Dean Wang? I'm locked in a fight with him. His evil heart can only suppress one person at a time. If we go together, he can't stop him. The young director said angrily. Director G's mouth twitched, but he turned around and made a SHH gesture. The young director rubbed his newly recovered head, shifted his gaze, and clearly saw Shen Jian walking at the front. But what about Dean Wang? Why don't you see anyone? There was confusion on his face. He shouted, Dr. Shen, where's that Go BA thing? I'll help you deal with him. Shut up, you, who asked you to call Dr. Shen, that's Dean Shen. Director G turned around and scolded, you just don't know how to behave. As the leader of our first ward, Dean Shen led us who were under coercion to successfully overthrow the evil-doing dean of the ward. From today on, we shall regard him as the new dean and lead the hospital. Young director. That's not what you said before. You were willing to die before, saying that this was just a temporary stay, and you would have to find your place sooner or later. Why are you so flattering now? With such licking power, it would be a pity not to be a licking dog. Seeing the unclear look in the other party's eyes, Director G's eyes wandered. Only then did the young director take a closer look. When he saw the dean lying motionless on the ground, his body was completely in a supernatural sleep, without even a trace of yin qi. The young director's pupils trembled. I was so scared that I almost screamed. What the hell? Is it the dean? There were exclamations. That's Xiao Wang. In front of Dean Shen, who dares to call him dean? Director G corrected him at the right time. Young director. Grass. You lick too much. I really never miss a chance to lick. But you definitely don't have me licking it. This last licking king must be mine. The young director looked at Director G provocatively. At this time, Director Zhang spoke, human, I don't know how you did it, but if Dean Wang dies, Huangquan Hospital will definitely intervene in the investigation, and you will never be able to escape the involvement. Especially the woman in the headquarters. Although she is only a red-dressed level, she has enough resources to invite a ghost king to help. If you want to rob this place, you have to ask Dean Huangquan if he agrees. Snapped. A slap fell on Manager Zhang's head. It was the young director who beat me. Director Zhang, who do you call a human being? That is our beloved dean. As long as we join forces with the doctors outside to support the dean, even Dean Huangquan will have to consider public opinion. Snapped. Director G, who was a step late, looked a little annoyed. But he still followed closely and said, yes, I am here to express my position. I support Dean Shen's election 10,000%. Dean Shen's election is supported by everyone. I, Director G, only recognize Dean Shen. Manager Zhang. You two have gone too far. His face was vaguely ferocious. Snapped. The third slap sounded. Shen Jian also said coldly, look at Xiao He, Xiao Ji is so sensible. Remember to call me Dean from now on, do you understand? Remember it clearly next time, otherwise Xiao Wang's today will be your tomorrow. Shen Jian cursed in dissatisfaction. He packed up the dean in front of him and took him away, and the ghost heart also fell into his hands. The finished drug number 1 was found in the dean's office. But a sudden piece of news left Shen Jian stunned. Wait a minute, what are you talking about? Only Xiao Wang can prepare the number 1 drug. Shen Jian's eyes became dangerous. The young director said weakly, Dean, this is Xiao Wang's research result. It is with this unique formula of the number 1 drug that he can quickly become the master of this place from the director. As long as he holds this drug, Huangquan Hospital can only let him set the price. How could he reveal such secrets to us? Director G added, what we know are just some of the previous theories, but if we are given a period of time and relying on our familiarity over the years, I believe we can also reproduce the real prescription. Shen Jian's eyes relaxed a lot. But still solemn. Unexpectedly, Xiao Wang, a sinister guy, still has such a skill. Manager Zhang also spoke at the right time, I have heard a saying that Wang Yuan, The reason why Xiao Wang has not disclosed this medicine is because of Dean Huan Quan. He regarded this medicine as a betrothal gift and threatened to, as long as Dean Huan Quan marries him, the medicine will be given away for free, but in the end today, I didn't receive a reply from Dean Huan Quan. I didn't expect Xiao Wang to have such a history of licking dogs. It's not like licking dogs. That's right, lick until there's nothing left. The two directors said with disdain. Shen Jian clicked his tongue. It turned out to be so. Licking a dog really doesn't lead to a good death. In vain, his plan to grow up in the underworld was delayed. Let's go out first. Think about it. Shen Jian suppressed his restless thoughts and left here. The other side. An uninvited guest broke in here. She has long golden hair and is dressed in a nun's uniform, holy and flawless. It is the nun ghost. She already knew the news about Shen Jian going to the first ward. After living here for a period of time, she has fully understood where the first ward is. It is the core of the mental hospital, and there may be many secrets stored in it. If Shen Jian's behavior is misunderstood as an intruder, then the trouble will be big. It is possible to be killed on the spot. She is appearing on the first floor. A group of ghosts came out of the elevator facing me. It was Shen Jian and his party. The nun's ghost eyes widened. Red. In addition to the dean, there are actually two red clothes hidden here. The level of terror is also a notch higher than hers. Doctor, doctor. The nun ghost saw Shen Jian in the crowd at a glance, and her expression became a little desperate. Shen Jian, with a serious look on his face, looked a little out of place among this group of fierce ghosts. It was obvious that this doctor, who showed off his skills and made drastic moves in the ward and sanatorium area, had already been captured and imprisoned in front of a group of two men in red. The nun gritted her teeth. How could she, a fierce ghost who didn't even have fatal supernatural powers, take the doctor away safely from the interception of two red-coated and two green-coated men? Or should I use my identity as a nun to plead with the dean here and ask him to let the doctor go? Does she, a wild nun, have such dignity? Do not care. You'll find out after you try it. That's all. The ghost nun stepped forward with a bit of determination. At this time, Shen Jian, who was thinking about the drug formula, also noticed the arrival of the ghost nun, with a hint of surprise in his eyes. Before Shen Jian could speak, Manager Zhang, who was only thinking about flattering, had strode up with a cold look on his face. Does any cat or dog dare to break into the first ward without permission? Dean Shen, don't worry, I will get rid of this eyesore right away. Don't let her block your way. Manager Zhang was filled with yin energy and looked at the ghost nun with a sinister look on his face. His loyal performance made Director He and Director Ji look down upon him with contempt. The little girl number 15 showed a hint of excitement. The ghost nun's mind was frozen, and she couldn't turn around. She heard what she just said correctly. The other person was talking about Dean Shen, and she was also talking about Dr. Shen. What is going on? Shen Jian was startled. Director Zhang seemed to have discovered something at this time, and said in surprise, Dean, I made a discovery. The aura on her body seems to be somewhat similar to the first patient captured when the first ward was established. That's the King's Hospital. A patient that Xiao Wang personally arrested is a rare twin evil spirit. He possesses two supernatural powers at the same time, and both souls are complete individuals. It is a very special case. Shen Jian nodded calmly, yes, I know, and she is very familiar with me. Do you have any questions? Director Zhang's expression immediately changed, and he flattered enthusiastically, let me just say, no one has taken care of the first ward for so long, why did so many people come at once? It turns out they are the dean's confidants. Thank you for your hard work. Xiao Zhang, I have offended you so much just now, no matter how you want to punish me, I will fully cooperate with you. Other ghosts. You are so responsive. You are worthy of being a psychological counselor. Your licking skills are almost threatening us. Director He and Director G looked at each other without leaving any trace. As if to say, eliminate him first. Okay, just do whatever you have to do. Shen Jian waved his hand. Yes, yes. Soon. The entire first ward was quiet. Shen Jian took out the ghost heart. Lila came online immediately. Eyes turned scarlet. You, really did it? She stuttered a little. She was probably the only one who had experienced the horror of the first ward. Especially after possessing her ghost heart, the dean of the sick building became a fierce ghost with no solution. Even if the Ghost King came, he would hate Northwest, let alone a human being. Just because she knew the horror of the first ward, she could better understand how shocking what Shen Jian had done. How did you do that? In a daze, Lila said subconsciously. Shen Jian pondered for a moment and said seriously, I first went deep into their hearts and chose to mingle with them. Then I conveyed to them the moral concepts of truth, goodness, and beauty, and corrected their three views in a special way. Then with my unremitting efforts, these evil ghosts abandoned their secrets and turned to the bright side one after another, choosing to stand with me to fight against the biggest evil of this hospital. Lila. The greatest evil you are talking about is. Although she had guessed the answer, she still couldn't believe it. The master here. Shen Jian said casually. After stabilizing the answer, Lila stared at her scarlet eyes and fell into a deep shock. Side mission, help Lila find the ghost heart, completed. Rewards have been stacked. Look at the panel for messages. Shen Jian's eyes fell on Lila again. Remember what you promised me, after fusing the ghost heart, it's your turn to pay the reward. Shen Jian approaches. Sister Bidong. His head gradually bowed. The urgent voice quietly heated up in the silent hospital building. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shi Yu Buletin Chi Gua. Chapter 175. The 7 days are over. The scarlet panel emerged. This round of game has ended. Congratulations to the player for passing the mental hospital copy. The copy is being settled. Rating, S. Experience gained, 500%. Note, you have been promoted to level 30. Items obtained, Thriller Coin * 5000. Get special rewards, the attention of glorious ghosts and gods. Note, the player's blasphemy against believer Leah has attracted the attention of the glorious ghosts and gods. Next time they enter the glorious ghosts and gods belief industry, players will get unexpected surprises. Get special reward, mental hospital real estate. Note, the ownership of this supernatural copy is Dean Huanquan, and the player only has deputy command rights. After being appointed by Dean Huanquan, the player can become the hospital director. Note, the identity of the player King Yama has changed. Note, congratulations to the player King of Yama for obtaining 4 large-scale supernatural dungeons and the 5th large-scale supernatural dungeon, which will unlock new permissions. Outside the mental hospital. Shen Jian opened his eyes. He opened the game panel. Player, King Yama himself. Identity, King of Yama, King of Qingguang, King of Shijiang. Ability, Pressure of Ghosts and Gods, Ghost Energy, Blood of Ghosts and Gods, Good Omen of Ghosts and Gods, Power of Ghosts and Gods, Eyes of Ghosts and Ghosts. Strength, 72, the limit for ordinary people is 10. Speed, 72. Yin Qi, 9600. Thriller Coin, 205000. Real Estate, Room 101, Unit 3, Blood Spring Community, Rebirth Villa, Supernatural Game Park, Blood Moon High School, Mental Hospital. Title, Dungeon Destroyer, Passive, Owner of Blood Spring Community, Real Estate Tycoon, Lord of the Past, passive, Principal of Blood Moon High School, passive, and the number 1 hegemon in Nanjiang District. Special status, attention from glorious ghosts and gods. Dungeon countdown, 30 days. A trace of surprise flashed in Shen Jian's eyes. Will blaspheming a nun attract the attention of glorious ghosts and gods? This ghost is too idle. If a believer is blasphemed like this, then next time he enters a monastery, church, or other places to commit evil acts, will he be able to lure this ghost out? Shen Jian was ready to make a move. A ghost. He could hardly control his inner excitement. After taking a look at the disfigured ghost who had been waiting for 7 days in the sports car, Shen Jian drove back to Huangquan Hospital. Director's office. The cold female dean looked at Shen Jian with a strange look. I asked you to maintain order, not to occupy the hospital, become the dean, or rob the nuns. Shen Jian said innocently, Master, you also know that that little Wang has secretly done many things to damage the image of Huangquan Hospital behind your back. As your apprentice, how can I watch all this and remain indifferent? As for being the dean, doesn't this further prove that I have won the hearts and minds of the people? The cold female dean. So when the people sent by the board of directors said they wanted to re-elect a dean, you mobilized mental patients to disrupt the situation and scared others away. It was spontaneous and I didn't know about it. Shen Jian's face didn't turn red and his heart didn't beat. Hey, I don't blame you, it's just that your unscrupulous attitude will offend the other directors of the hospital. If you are given small shoes, you will be in a very difficult situation. Shen Jian was thoughtful. This was not the first time he heard such an embarrassing attitude from the female dean. She seems to be the owner of a large supernatural copy, but her situation seems to be restricted by other people and she does not have complete autonomy. I'll pay attention. Shen Jian nodded. How about that nun? How does it compare to me? Abruptly, the headmistress suddenly said. Kill the dean, occupy the hospital, and rob the nuns. You shout slogans very loudly. I would like to know how the nun you talk about makes your heart beat. Shen Jian. Is it an illusion? Why does he feel that the dean is a little jealous? Shen Jian's eyes moved. Huangquan Dean Guzheng. Current status, happy, gratified, complicated. Favorability, 76, ambiguous. Compared with before, it has increased by almost 10 points. It is almost approaching the intimacy stage of 80 points of favorability. At this stage, as long as the operation is good, the wish of contradicting the master can be realized. Something strange flashed in Shen Jian's eyes. He was determined to be this unfilial disciple. Shen Jian said, there is no comparison. Dean, you are a mature flower of the mountains, and she is just a young, fledgling girl. How can this be compared? I heard she has a good figure. Shouldn't you men like that? The female dean retorted. Shen Jian twitched the corner of his mouth. This cheap master doesn't seem to be that easy to fool. He can still know the details of the mental hospital from thousands of miles away. Shen Jian said against his will, what's the use of having a good figure? Master, you're not bad either. What's more, you have characteristics that the other person doesn't have. What? Temperament, the temperament of a mature woman, this is something a little girl can never learn. Shen Jian just said it. The headmistress also had a smile on her face. After laughing for a long time, she looked at Shen Jian with a strange light in her eyes. The look in his eyes didn't look like he was looking at his apprentice or subordinate, but more like he was looking at a lover who he liked and had a somewhat ambiguous atmosphere. But when I think of her identity, his eyes couldn't help but dim a bit. She was already a wife. Although her husband died and she became a widow, she was already labeled as someone else's wife. How could a human being as outstanding, handsome, and capable as Shen Jian set his sights on a widow like her? This will be laughed at. Pity. If the other person had been born so many years earlier, maybe there would still be some possibility between them. The cold female dean sighed inwardly. Mixed emotions. But she greedily wanted to continue this atmosphere. Subconsciously, he said, I heard that you have taught yourself massage before. I am also feeling a little sore recently. Can you massage it for me? Shen Jian was startled. Full of agreement. At this time, inside the locked door of the dean's office, the temperature seems to be rising. The cold and charming female director was lying on the hospital bed. Turning his head downward, he displayed his smooth jade back in front of Shen Jian. Let Shen Jian put his big hands coated with essential oil on her skin. First there was a chill, then a warmth. She nervously grasped the edges on both sides. Like a frightened little rabbit. Seeing this, Shen Jian thought for a while and said, Master, do you know the number one drug? Sure enough, upon hearing this familiar term, the cold female dean's attention was immediately attracted, and her tense body began to relax. That's right. You've become the director of a hospital. It's impossible that you don't know this. The voice of the female dean sounded slowly. There was a bit of seriousness in his tone. Drug number one can effectively suppress the supernatural powers among ghosts. After testing, we found that even if a red-clad ghost drinks the number one drug, its own supernatural powers will be reduced by more than 60%. It may not have much effect on medical resources, but it is a powerful weapon in territorial wars and has strategic significance. There used to be ghosts at the level of ghost kings who wanted to acquire the number one drug. There were also many people on the board of directors who were eyeing the number one drug. Now that you have become the director of the hospital, all of those people's attention will be focused on you. Even if they won't give up, even if you publicly state that the person in charge of drug number one is dead. As Shen Jian groped, he moved his hands over the shoulder bones, spine, and limbs, as if kneading dough. While asking, is there no way to reproduce it? I don't know. Female director Len Yan shook her head. This number one drug has been guarded very tightly, and no valuable information has been given, so it is impossible to determine whether it can be reproduced. However, the hospital has studied the finished drug. It's a pity that there is no progress. Shen Jian frowned. Is there no way? This time, the female dean gave a positive answer. Do you know the snow ghost in the ice and snow castle? Shen Jian was startled. No. Then do you know the supernatural powers of snow ghosts? To suppress the supernatural powers of fierce ghosts, one way is to use medicine, and the other is to use your own supernatural powers. When it comes to experience in this area, ice and snow castle is definitely at the forefront of us. They may be able to reproduce the formula of drug no one. After listening, Shen Jian thought of the invitation letter from the ice and snow castle on his body. Originally, I wanted to find some free time to go in and play. Unexpectedly, it has become an important matter now. Shen Jian thought. You pressed the wrong button. At this time, the somewhat panicked voice of the cold female dean sounded. Shen Jian looked down. Dean, I pressed correctly. There is a lymphatic structure here, which is the source of your body's pain. Massage can activate blood circulation, remove blood stasis, and soothe the muscles and bones. Shen Jian was serious. The voice of the cold female dean became smaller and smaller. I am a famous doctor. After some interaction, Shen Jian left the horror world. Returned to the real world. He saw the news that Jian Quan stayed. A phone call was made. Mr. Shen, you're back. We found the haunted villa you asked us to find last time. Are you sure you want to move in? It's a haunted house there. Where? In the villa area of Wanghaijiao, there is a Republic of China building built a long time ago. It was once a landmark scenery during the Republic of China. Now it has been transferred and has fallen into the hands of the richest man in Qingxi. Qian Quan said. Unfortunately, the richest man and his wife died tragically in the villa the day after it was renovated and moved in. Now it has become a famous haunted house, and no one dares to take over. Daxia Longke once investigated and found that the evil ghosts here would not leave the villa area, so they sealed it off. According to our judgment, the number of evil ghosts in the Nether Mansion will not be less than 3, and there may even be more. We judge that there is most likely a large ghost breeding place, otherwise there would not be so many ghosts gathered at one time. Fierce ghost. Very good. Shen Jian said excitedly, I'll move there right now. Living in a villa also comes with several servants, which is a great benefit. Qian Quan. After a long time, Qian Quan on the other end of the phone said cautiously, Mr. Shen, if you want that set of Republic of China buildings, I have a merciless request. Of course, this is not a request from our Daxia Longke, but that a request from the richest man's family. They are willing to give away the villa unconditionally. Their only request is to bring out the bodies of the richest couple. Shen Jian frowned, how long has it been? Unless it was affected by something supernatural, it would just be a pile of bones. Even if it's a corpse, they still recognize it. Okay. Shen Jian agreed. Wanghaijiao is the largest and most luxurious villa area in Qingxi. Being able to become a surface building in a place where land is at a premium, it is still a landmark building during the Republic of China. Shen Jian estimates that the total value of this villa is at least 1 billion. Taking 1 billion in exchange for one of his actions, the requirement is simply to bring back the bones, which is no different from giving it away for free. He had no reason to refuse. Same day, Shen Jian moved in. This scene attracted the attention of many people. The people who can live here are the most powerful people in Qing City. The owners of every villa are basically familiar faces. However, a strange face moved in today. The person who moved in turned out to be the legendary haunted house. Isn't he afraid of death? Everyone was shocked. A kind-hearted leader warned, young man, do you know where that place is? Shen Jian nodded, Yin Mansion. Then you still dare to stay? Why don't you dare? All strange powers and chaos are fake. We must believe in science. Shen Jian said seriously. Neighbor. God is so scientific. When the richest couple died, it was not scientific at all. Another impulsive young man who doesn't believe in ghosts and gods. Seeing this, the neighbors stopped trying to persuade him. It's hard to persuade a dead man with good words. At night. 12 o'clock at midnight. Shen Jian slept in his new home. He was in a daze, and he vaguely heard strange noises, like someone running around on the balcony of the master bedroom wearing slippers, and there was also the sound of gurgling water coming from the toilet. It's strange, I obviously turned off the water. Shen Jian stood up angrily and sat up slowly. His eyes moved to his sleeping wife next to him. The facial features on the other party's fair face were very delicate, but there was a string on his limbs and head, as if they had been forcibly sewn together. Not Sadako, not Miss Mary, not the ghost bride or any of the other underworld villains. It's a ghost that already exists in this villa. Shen Jian ignored the situation. I didn't care whether it was a domestic flower or a wild flower. Domestic flowers have the benefits of home flowers. Wildflowers also have wildflower excitement. As for where this wildflower came from, who cares? Enjoy it first. Lean over. Shen Jian kissed the stitched female ghost's forehead, and the cold touch made him energetic. Stitch ghost? Too much. I am a ghost. Not your wife. At this time, Shen Jian stopped what he was doing. He said tenderly, honey, it's too noisy outside. It seems like some dirty things have come to the house. I'll go kill them and come back to satisfy you. Stitch ghost. She felt a chill. Grass. Is there a possibility that I am also the dirty thing in your mouth? Haven't you ever discovered that you are just a single guy and don't have a wife at all? I ignored my wife's shouts. Shen Jian got out of bed. Opened the door to the master bedroom. A gust of dark wind blew, and the entire view of an extremely dark and haunted house came into view of Shen Jian. This Republic of China building has 3 floors. The master bedroom is on the top floor. Shen Jian walked down the stairs. I could faintly hear a voice like a thief coming from the door of the villa. "Sir, the takeaway you ordered has arrived, come out and get it." This voice was shrill and penetrating. He claims to be a delivery boy, but he delivers food in the middle of the night. Anyone can hear the bad intentions and joking in his voice. Shen Jian's face was expressionless. What is he whispering in his mouth? The sharp mouth and monkey cheeks are suitable for cleaning toilets. Listen again. The sound of chopping came from the kitchen on the first floor, and a sharp voice also sounded, "It's time to get up, it's time to get up and eat." Today's supper is human brain stewed with bones, which is very nourishing. Lying on his side on the first floor, a child was crying in the children's room. He was cutting up the doll with scissors while muttering, "I want my brother to be with me forever." The originally dark and gloomy villa became extremely lively at this moment. No wonder the richest couple died tragically. Whoever lives in this environment will suffer a myocardial infarction. Shen Jian looked around. The auras of no fewer than 5 fierce ghosts were discovered. All are white level. But the yin energy in his body was slowly increasing. He mused. Thinking of the place where ghosts are raised by Jian Quan. After midnight, this place is indeed a place where ghosts are raised. He didn't know how it was arranged, but even he could feel a slight increase in yin qi. The efficiency was equivalent to the increase in yin qi of a lonely ghost after being there for half an hour. Very tasteless. But for the fierce ghosts in the real world, this is already a rare blessing. Among the 5 fierce ghosts, one is approaching the King II level. As long as you leave here, it is basically equivalent to an A-level supernatural incident. If they go out together, it will definitely be an S-class supernatural event sweeping Qing City. The person who arranged this place to raise ghosts is definitely a talent. The underworld needs such talents. Shen Jian looked excited. As he walked downstairs, his eyes sparkled. For a moment I didn't know which one to play first. Finally, Shen Jian came to the kitchen first. He needs to know whether this fierce ghost is qualified for the position of chef here. Pushing open the kitchen door, a fishy smell filled the air. A woman with her back turned was chopping something, and she couldn't tell what kind of animal bones it was. Shen Jian took a closer look. In a trance, he seemed to see that the person being chopped was himself. At this time, the woman turned back, her pale and twisted face covered with blood, her mouth curled up, and her empty eyes stared at Shen Jian. "Ha ha. Heartless man, how does it feel to be chopped up bit by bit? Take a look." Shen Jian's eyes were dazed for a moment, and then he found himself in the pot, his eyes widening. The woman laughed strangely. "Heartless man, you saw it, you should be in the pot now. The supernatural power is revealed at this moment. If someone else came over, he would be torn into pieces by now, imagining that he would be put on the chopping board and chopped into pieces one by one. In reality, the body will also look like it has been chopped up. See this scene." Shen Jian was startled. Then he became angry. "You actually cooked me, damn it, you actually killed me, it hurts, it hurts. Corpse chop. You realize that you were killed by me, shouldn't you fall down now? Can you still show off your acting skills with me here? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shi Yubuletin Chigwa. Chapter 176. In a dark kitchen. The corpse-chopping ghost was a little confused. I kill you. Shouldn't you lie down? Are you still here to play with me? Really? She wanted to test it again, so she chopped on the chopping board again. A piece of ribs was chopped into 2 pieces. In the eyes of others, they will see a body exactly like their own being chopped into 2 pieces. You killed me and I want to avenge myself. Shen Jian said. He picked up the rolling pin from the side. Corpse chop? What the hell? Did his supernatural power fail? Is this human being mentally ill? How can you avenge yourself when everyone is dead? You think you are the king of hell and can bring the dead back to life? She was very confused. I have never encountered such a situation in my life. Boom. 1 stick down. The corpse-chopping ghost screamed subconsciously. But soon she discovered that, hey, it didn't hurt. Yes. She is a ghost, and the other person is a human. How could it hurt when a person fights a ghost? The corpse-chopping ghost breathed a sigh of relief. The other person is weird, but he is just a fragile human being after all. And this time, Shen Jian was also startled. I was so deep into the drama that I didn't realize that what I was holding was just a rolling pin. Miscalculation. Shen Jian secretly thought and took out the morning stick from his body. Startled again. He took it back and took out the baton he used as a security guard. I was so used to beating high-level ghosts that I almost forgot to hit them with the morning stick. This white-clothed level was almost killed. This is the servant and chef of his new family, so he can't mess with it. Shen Jian picked up his baton. Hit it again. Ah! This time, the corpse-chopping ghost finally felt the pain. With 1 blow, she almost couldn't maintain her ghost body. The idea is thorny, so retreat quickly. Her eyes widened, and she finally realized something was wrong. She screamed and crawled outside desperately, trying to survive. Hey, if you scream again, no ghost will come to save you even if your throat is broken. Shen Jian chuckled strangely. Stare at the corpse-chopping ghost crawling in the living room, and hit him with a stick for every step he takes. The corpse-chopping ghost was almost stunned. This human targeted one area of her body and hit her all red. With every stroke of the stick, she felt like she was 1 step closer to death. The whole ghost fell into deep fear and despair. Are you still running away? If you don't want to run away, just fight. The corpse-chopping ghost pouted. Weak and weak. She climbed 20 steps in 3 meters and received 20 canes. Tired? Just accept it. I never like forcing others. Shen Jian nodded. You continue to make the soup. Remember to add some wolfberry, angelica root, dangshen, astragalus, red ginseng, and yam. I will drink it later. The corpse-chopping ghost was stunned. Drink these in the middle of the night. Are you going to defy heaven and earth? Well, tonight is destined to be a war in which we abandon our troops and our armor. Shen Jian nodded. Perform well and try to become the head chef here. I will give you a recipe later. Remember to use it to make wine. Finished. Shen Jian came to the gym where the sound of running could be heard. A sneaker is running fast on the treadmill. Every friction step makes a sizzling sound. Shen Jian's eyes became dangerous. It was this sound that disturbed his dream. Think about it. Shen Jian came to the treadmill. Sneakers ignored the human and continued to exercise. Drop. Shen Jian pressed the 5th gear. Sports ghost? Brother, 1st gear running, are you a man? Shen Jian sneered. A real man should just go to the highest level. You can't do that, right? Finished. Shen Jian glanced suspiciously. The sports ghost was shocked. No. Damn, just kidding. How could I not? Da. On the high-speed treadmill, the solace of a pair of sports shoes started to smoke. Shen Jian wanted to return to the normal pace, but Shen Jian tightly held the button. Sports ghost. You are so indifferent. A strong resentment rose from the sneakers, and an illusory ghost gradually condensed. It was a pale man with two legs twisted into a weird shape, as if he had been hit by a truck and his legs were disabled. Human, I won't trouble you. I advise you not to seek your own death. The sports ghost growled. But, I want to cause trouble for you. Shen Jian said strangely. Reach out and wave. In an instant, the temperature in the equipment room dropped to freezing point. The equipment room was crowded with terrifying figures. The sports ghost's expression changed from gloomy to stiff. Just because he saw a terrifying scene. The fierce ghosts wearing the robes of sinister officials looked at him with hollow eyes and penetrating expressions. Sports ghost. He was stunned. Damn, so many ghosts. What the hell is this, a ghost trafficker? The sports ghost shrank and met Shen Jian's smiling eyes. Brother, you are still exercising in the middle of the night. You must be very energetic. How about joining us, a happy and harmonious family that solves people's problems? When you come here, any pain will disappear and there will be only laughter and laughter every day. Hear this. The sports ghost took another look at the numb, lifeless faces around him, and suddenly the corner of his mouth twitched. I believe you are the only one who has ghosts. Joining your big family, I'm afraid of your waist. Of course, he didn't dare to say this openly. No, big brother, how about you let me go? He said weakly. At the same time, he moved carefully. Brother? Oops, you've already called me eldest brother, so you must have agreed. Let's go ahead and give our new partner a little greeting gift. Shen Jian nodded understandingly. Sports ghost? No, is this how you extract keywords? The sports ghost's consternation did not last long. One after another, the ghosts have already pounced on him. Yin Chai, who had been transformed by King Chu Jiang's ghost power, could only obey orders. And will implement it unswervingly. Soon. A hysterical scream sounded in the equipment room. The voice-activated lights also lit up rhythmically amidst the screams. Soon after. There is a cleaner to clean the villa. Shen Jian came to the door of the villa. Is anyone at home? If you don't open the door, your takeaway will be cold. The fierce shout was full of malice. Anyone with a discerning eye knows that this is the time to pretend to be dead. However, Shen Jian opened the door directly as if he didn't know anything. Outside the door, there was a delivery boy in yellow clothes, with a lean figure, stooped waist, and pale skin. Judging from this posture, he was just trying to spy on the situation in the villa through the peephole. Seeing Shen Jian open the door, the takeaway ghost smiled weirdly. Haha, it turns out someone is at home. The takeout you ordered is cash on delivery. Do you want me to help you get it in? Shen Jian glanced at the takeout box behind him, which was extraordinarily large and could fit several people in. He nodded and turned sideways. The takeaway ghost walked in. He showed an expression of success. But this time, he suddenly found that after he walked in, the human did not close the door, but stuck his head out, looked around, and kept shouting, "Is anyone else coming in? I've closed the door. Outside the villa. It's an empty yard. Only the cool breeze blows." Such a scene seems particularly strange. The takeaway ghost felt a chill in his heart. What's going on? Who is he calling? There is clearly a ghost outside. Could there be another ghost coming and he didn't know about it? When I thought of this, a creepy feeling came to my heart. The takeaway ghost grunted. He carefully patted Shen Jian's shoulder. Brother, why don't you stop shouting? There is no one outside except me. You are so weird. Shen Jian looked disappointed. They are all white level. It's a bit disappointing. However, if you think about it, you will know that it is abnormal for a Xingyi level ghost to appear in the real world. Although the horror world has been invaded, most of the people who can be revived are the white-clothed level and the lonely ghosts below the white-clothed level. Think of this. Shen Jian also suppressed his disappointment. After locking the door, he looked at the takeaway ghost with an unkind look on his face. Why are you here so late? How long has it been overdue? Hear this. The takeaway ghost didn't refute, but instead laughed strangely. I'm sorry, customer, it's hard for me to place an order. I think it will take some time to find the ingredients from the previous household, but I still made it. But don't worry, the last one is a well-maintained couple, so it should be relatively fresh. The words of the takeaway ghost are very strange. When it comes to freshness, the key word in the previous sentence is a couple, which is a bit scary to think about. Shen Jian seemed not to notice. His expression softened a bit. Fresh is good, I just love eating fresh. Okay guest, I'll take it out for you right away. The sinister smile on the takeaway ghost's face became even thicker. Pushed the takeout box in front of Shen Jian. Open it in front of your face. A pungent smell of blood assaulted his nostrils. The horrific scene inside was revealed. Two fleshy heads were opened tightly, aiming right at Shen Jian. Shen Jian. He now has two pieces of news. Good news. A bad news. Good news, the richest man and his wife have been found, and there are no bones. Bad news, all that's left is the head. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shi Yu Buletin Chi Gua. Chapter 177. Chapter 177 Husband, listen to my explanation. Saw a bloody scene inside the takeout box. Shen Jian did not have the panic reaction that the takeaway ghost was expecting. On the contrary, he was very calm. He even reached out and touched it. The richest family who donated the villa asked him to find the bodies of the richest couple, even just one skeleton. Now that there is an extra head, this family must be satisfied. Think so? Shen Jian quickly frowned. He looked at the takeaway ghost with an unkind expression. Are you kidding me? It's humming cold, how can you still order it fresh? Tell me how to eat cold takeout. Scold without mercy. It makes the takeaway ghosts confused. Come on, is this human being so courageous? These two beautiful heads are staring at you, are you not afraid at all? You grew up eating horror. I understand that it's not easy for you to deliver food, but it's hard not to be angry if you deliver it to me without heating it. And you may not know that I have a bad temper and don't have any qualities. If you don't give me food today, if I give you a reasonable explanation, I'm afraid you won't be able to get out of this gate. Shen Jian's tone became increasingly gloomy. The takeaway ghost is cold. He felt a little uncomfortable being stared at by this human being, and the other person's reaction made him wonder whether this human being was really stupid or had something to rely on. He was a little confused. After thinking for a while, the takeaway ghost said, "Brother, how do you want to solve it? Since we can't eat takeout, why don't you cook an extra dish for me? Just drinking soup doesn't seem to be nutritious." Takeaway ghost. I deliver food to your door, not cook it? You are so embarrassed to speak. Good. He decided to observe again to determine if the other person was simply a bit nervous, or if he was a highly skilled person who was bold. Come to the kitchen. When he saw the blood on the ground and a female ghost with blood on her body and a butt swollen than plastic foam, the delivery ghost couldn't help but widen his eyes. At this time, another cleaner wearing sneakers, with a bruised face, was cleaning the floor of the balcony. Seeing the takeaway ghost, both of them showed a hint of gloating. The takeaway ghost's expression became more and more terrifying. No more observation. This human being is really awesome. Then, the takeaway ghost said in a trembling voice, what do you want to eat? Shen Jian pondered slightly, can you cook clay pot rice? I happen to have a child at home. Takeaway ghost? Clay pot rice, isn't it just a matter of having hands? But what do you mean by the second part of the sentence? With this doubt, the takeaway ghost watched Shen Jian walk into the children's room. Children's room. Shen Jian walked in here. A little girl of 7 or 8 years old was squatting in the corner, her shoulders twitching constantly, and she was crying very sadly. White flowers fell all over the ground. A tattered and cut-out doll was being held in the arms of a little girl. Constantly crying. My brother is dead, woo, my brother is dead, he lives with me, and he will stay with me every step of the way. The little girl should cry and laugh at the same time. His little face was filled with a sickly flush. Shen Jian saw it. Sighed. Yandere is so scary. Shen Jian went over and patted the little girl on the shoulder. The other party turned around with a pale face. He looked at it for a few times and then at the broken doll in his hand, with a look of surprise and fear on his face. Brother, why are you? Shen Jian interrupted her directly, don't be afraid, today is my 7th brother. I heard your voice below, and I came back to take you with me today. By the way, do you know what my favorite food is? We won't have these things to eat when we get down there, so we have to stock up on them. These words immediately confused the little girl opposite. The other party's chilling words caused her brain to become blocked on the spot. Kwewa, you are in a daze by yourself again. You have had this problem since you were a child and you don't like to communicate with others. When I leave, I am worried that you will not be able to be independent and live alone. Shen Jian reached out and touched the little girl's head, and asked again, do you remember what my brother likes to eat? Kwewa. Little girl. Who do you call Kwewa? No matter how dull the little girl is, she can still hear the teasing charm in Shen Jian's words. Haha, I don't know what you like to eat, brother. She started to prevaricate. Unexpectedly, Shen Jian immediately said with pity, that's right, you kid doesn't look very smart. This question is too advanced for you. Hey, I'm really worried that someone will want to harm you one day, so I came back to my soul on the first 7 days and wanted to send you down so that no one would dare to bully you. The little girl opened her mouth. Because you were afraid that someone would try to harm me, so you sent me down in advance? Grass. What an awesome theory, even Jesus would shake his head when he saw your level. The little girl panicked. Dozens of dishes were announced in a row. Hey, I even forgot what my favorite food is. Kwewa, my favorite is clay pot rice. For the sake of my brother Toki coming back to his soul on this day and taking you to live a happy life together, you can make a sacrifice. Shen Jian said. He picked up the little girl and walked towards the kitchen. The other party's eyes widened. God loves clay pot rice so much, you must be a kid. Are human beings now so dangerous? The most ferocious ghost she had ever seen was not even 1/3 as powerful as the person in front of her. Enter the kitchen. Shen Jian threw the little girl over. Then he looked at the takeaway man with a playful look. Here, brother, the ingredients for the clay pot rice you are looking for are here. They are absolutely fresh. As soon as these words came out, the little girl's face suddenly darkened. The corner of the takeaway guy's mouth twitched. That bitch really knows how to blame others. Don't be fooled. This man is full of lies. He doesn't look like a normal human being who lived here in the past. 2 of us have been domesticated. If we want to save ourselves, we can only join forces. Corpse chop. Sports ghost. The little girl looked too. His face was very ugly, and he said in a sharp tone, fight him. The two ghosts gritted their teeth and said, "Finished." The takeaway ghost rushed forward and kept whispering, come here quickly." There was a twisting sound from the takeout box in the living room, and the body with only two heads left was actually half of the body made of flesh and blood, and rushed towards Shenjian in a twisted posture. Shenjian glanced over. Fine. From originally bringing back the bones, to bringing back the head, and now to half the body of flesh and blood, if we really bring it back, the mission will be completed and everyone will be happy. Think of this. Shenjian stepped forward, stepped over the two corpses, and kicked the takeaway ghost away more than 10 meters. Little girl. This strength. It's too much. Brother, you died so miserably. After a moment of shock, the little girl burst into tears. But with her white-clothed level ghost, how could she possibly influence Shenjian? Don't be afraid of Qiwa. Even though my brother is dead, you can't live. Brother can't let you go. Shenjian strode over and grabbed the little girl's round head. Without saying anything, he greeted her with a baton. After a severe beating. There is an additional housekeeper in the villa who purchases ingredients, and an additional maid who serves dishes. Do it all. Shenjian walked back to the top floor again. Looking at the Stitch ghost who was tied up like a rice dumpling by the ghost rope, Shenjian untied the bindings, leaned into the Stitch ghost's ear and said softly, "Honey, the disturbing noise is gone. Let's take a bath and then let's play some exciting interactive games." Stitch ghost. It's been so long. Brother, it's time for you to wake up. I'm not your wife. She was in a bit of a dilemma. The strength of this human being seemed a bit terrifying. It had only been a short time before all the movement downstairs disappeared. She knew the bad taste of those people. Unless she completely subdued or even killed them, Shenjian would never come up intact. Being able to appear here again shows that Shenjian's strength is terrifying. Being forced by such a human being, should she obey? If I don't obey, will he get angry and kill me too? Suture Ghost was in a state of confusion at this moment. Then the weightlessness hit me. She saw that Shenjian had picked her up by the waist. Go to the bathroom. Standing in the doorway of the master bedroom bathroom. There was a constant sound of running water inside. But when Shenjian opened the door, everything in the bathroom returned to normal. The only unusual thing was that the bathtub was filled with water. Shenjian gave it a try. The water temperature is just right. So he changed his wife's clothes himself, revealing her body covered by clouds. Stitch ghost. I continued to pretend to be asleep. As long as I didn't wake up, nothing happened. She had never climbed into this perverted bed before. Honey, you wash it first. I remember I have a few pairs of stockings that I will need later. Finished. Shenjian walked out of the bathroom. I found several pairs of stockings of unknown origin. There are white silk, black silk, and suspender silk. However, when Shenjian returned to the bathroom, the lights started to flicker. Tufts of hair emerged from the bathtub. Soon, a female ghost wearing white clothes stood up from the bathtub with her hair hanging down to the ground. All the water in the bathtub turned blood red and kept overflowing. Boom. The bathroom door was closed. It's not caused by supernatural beings, it's caused by Shenjian Guan. This scene of throwing herself into a trap made the female ghost Izuku stunned for a moment. Next moment, Shenjian's heartbroken voice came, "You guys, you are such an adulterer and a slut, you turned your back on me, right? Tell me, how long have you been together?" At this time, the Stitch ghost finally couldn't pretend to sleep anymore. She opened her eyes in a hurry and explained, "That's not the case, old husband, please explain." The female ghost Izuku on the side was stunned for a while, and couldn't help but said, "Are you crazy? We are here to harm him, do you really think of him as your husband? Don't talk nonsense, how could I harm my husband? The stitching ghost became anxious on the spot. The other person has been squatting in the bathroom taking a bath, and his brain has been damaged. Don't you know the meaning of this man going down and appearing here again? Finally, two more crying sounds came from the sack. Much of the night, Shen Jian walked out of the balcony, looking at Villa No 001 from a distance. Inside, thoughts were swirling. According to the comparison of information found by Jian Quan, the construction of this landmark building of the Republic of China in Wanghaijiao started a year ago, and it took a year to transform it into the super mansion that perfectly integrates the style of the Republic of China and modernity. It can be judged that there were no supernatural incidents in the villa during the Republic of China at that time. The villa was delivered 2 weeks ago. The richest couple moved in 6 days ago. Basically, it was not long after he entered the underworld ward dungeon. In just a few days, 6 fierce ghosts gathered here. Although they are all white-clothed level, 6 white-clothed level ghosts appearing together in one place are enough to cause a devastating A-level supernatural event. He also asked 6 ghosts, but their responses were surprisingly consistent. They all appeared here in a trance. It was like something was drawing them there. Shen Jian was thoughtful. This is definitely not the work of King Shi or other players, but it should be traced back to the last century, that is, the Republic of China period. At that time, there were probably no horror games. So how did people during the Republic of China lay out this large ghost-raising place? Shen Jian fell into deep thought. He glanced at a certain place casually. Inside a residence, a girl who was using a telescope covered her mouth and squatted down subconsciously. In the afternoon, she heard that a young man who was not afraid of death had moved into haunted house 001. Driven by curiosity, she used telescopes to see everything that happened in the villa. It turns out, there are really supernatural events in this world, and there are really capable people and strangers who can deal with ghosts. Then can he help me? Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shi Yu Buletin Chi Gua. Chapter 178. A huge ice castle. Little master, you are finally back. The master of the house has been worried about you these days. The little snow ghost returned from the human world, and the housekeeper in a tuxedo came over with a worried look on her face. TCH, why didn't she worry about me when I was boarding at school before? Xiaoxugui's face turned red, as if he remembered some embarrassing memory. The past few days' trip to the human world has refreshed her knowledge. It also affected her uncontaminated cognition. It turns out that there are still so many tricks in the human world. That human also made her do many unspeakable things. There seemed to be more secrets she needed to keep. Just thinking about it, I seem to hear someone talking bad about me. A mature and lazy voice came from upstairs. Accompanied by the sound of high heels hitting the stair floor, the speaker is descending the spiral staircase. Bang! The high heels finally touched the floor, and the owner of the ice and snow castle was fully exposed. Her appearance is 80% similar to that of Little Snow Ghost, but she is more mature, with long silver white hair hanging down to her waist like a waterfall. She was wearing a thin lace pajama, but it only had a top and no pajamas, so it could only barely cover her perky buttocks. 2 thighs as white as green onions were completely exposed. A mature and attractive flavor hits the face. The little snow ghost stared angrily at the majestic beating of his mother. They are both snow ghosts, why is the difference so big? She still remembered that human's complaint, saying that no man was interested in her like this. Butler, I want papaya soup tonight, a big portion. Finished. The little snow ghost looked at his mother. Suddenly he was stunned. Because she saw worry on her mother's face. What's wrong? Master Yukino is about to be crowned king. The housekeeper gives timely reminders. Isn't this a good thing? The reason why our ice and snow castle has been bullied by others is because we don't have our own Ghost King. Now that Mother has been promoted to Ghost King, no one will dare to bully us anymore. Little Master, it's not that simple. The housekeeper also said worriedly, every fierce ghost who breaks through the Ghost King must accept the challenge of other Ghost Kings. Only by winning the battle can they truly succeed as Ghost King. Otherwise, they will only become the nourishment of other Ghost Kings. With the current situation of our ice and snow castle, we can no longer recruit a Ghost King to guard it. In other words, the head of the family will need to face the threat of one or even several Ghost Kings by himself. It would be fine if it were just a challenger to the Ghost King for the first time, but because of the special supernatural powers that our ice and snow castle relies on for its survival, the Ghost King who comes to challenge will definitely be one of the best. The housekeeper revealed the hurdles one needs to go through to break through to the Ghost King. At this time, the owner of the ice and snow castle, Patriarch Yukino, also said, "These days, you can stay at Blood Moon High School. I will pay the tuition for 3 years at a time, and you won't come back." Little Snow Ghost's face was stiff. She heard a bad meaning in her mother's words. "It's impossible, and who said there is no Ghost King in our ice and snow castle? I know a person who can help us." The other side. Early the next morning. A beautiful day starts with the chef making breakfast, the maid bringing it, and the two wives feeding it themselves. Do it all. Shen Jian carried an extra large takeout box to deliver an errand. Emotion flashed in his eyes. There are not many honest employers like him anymore. The client's request was just to bring back the bones of the richest man and his wife. Not only did he bring back the bodies, but he also ordered the delivery ghost to splice the flesh and blood together, forming a corpse with no skin and only an inner layer of flesh and blood. It can be considered a complete corpse. Qian Quan opened the takeout box. When he saw the two horrifying corpses inside, he couldn't help but twitch the corner of his mouth. "Mr. Shen, if you take him here like this, I'm afraid the other party will be scared to death. Then it's none of my business. I'm only responsible for bringing back the body," Shen Jian said seriously. "By the way, I must remind you that you tell those people that according to the employment agreement, this villa now belongs to me. I don't want people who want to break in for various reasons. Otherwise, I will die." Irresponsible. Qian Quan listened. He immediately promised, "Don't worry, Mr. Shen, we will also send people to guard the area 24 hours a day." Shen Jian nodded. Seemingly thinking of something, he asked casually, "Do you have any clues about the Fallen Angel organization?" "Have." Qian Quan nodded. "According to our internal intelligence, these people seem to be planning to hold a big gathering recently, but the specific location and date are not yet known." Shen Jian was thoughtful. "By the way, Mr. Shen, have you ever killed members of the Fallen Angel organization?" "That's right." "Then you have to be careful in the future. These people have special contact information recently. Once they get close to the members of the organization, a blood mark will appear on their bodies. And when they kill the members of the Fallen Angel organization, a blood mark will also appear on their bodies. The blood seal is used to tell other members that this person is the mortal enemy of the Fallen Angel organization." Shen Jian was excited. "Can you successfully identify all the members by killing one member of the Fallen Angels organization? Do you know where there are people who are alone?" Qian Quan. Hades. Shen Jian was sitting in the hall of King Yama, looking towards the 18th level of hell. The 12th level of hell, unlocked. Unlocking condition, Ghost King. Shen Jian frowned. The unlocking condition for the 12th level of hell has become a Ghost King. Then if you unlock it to level 18, wouldn't you need ghosts and gods? But it's okay. He knows a clue about a ghost. There don't seem to be many Ghost Kings in Nanjiang district. there is a high probability that a 3-star copy will not encounter a ghost at the level of a Ghost King. Maybe you need a 4-star dungeon to do so. Shen Jian murmured. Thriller games will set up clues to deceive players, but in terms of fairness, there is still nothing to say. The upper limit of a 1-star dungeon is a white-clothed level ghost. The upper limit of a 2-star dungeon is a green-clad ghost. The upper limit of a 3-star copy is a red-clad ghost. And so on. If you want to meet the Ghost King, you can only go to a dungeon with 4 stars or above. Shen Jian opened the game panel again. The game level above is level 30. According to the progression of level 10, he should have unlocked the 4-star dungeon permission at level 30, but unfortunately he did not. Obviously, level 30 is not enough to open a 4-star dungeon. Think about it this way. Shen Jian felt even more anxious. Now unlocking the 12th level of Hell has become the top priority. The secondary task is to reproduce the number 1 drug, allowing the underworld to officially enter an era of evil and evil among living people. Think about it. Shen Jian took out an invitation letter. Props, Ice and Snow Castle invitation. Note, with this invitation, you can enter the Ice and Snow Castle. Tear opened the invitation. A scarlet panel emerged. It was detected that the player used the invitation letter, and the dungeon task has been fixed. The special copy has been opened, players please pay attention. A sufficient number of players have been detected. Loading. You have completed the match. Copy, Ice and Snow Castle. Content, the Ice and Snow Castle, which was once the territory of a Ghost King, lacked its own king, its family fell into decline, and was bullied by other lords. You are the first players invited by the Ice and Snow Castle. Number of players, 30 people. Main mission, survive until the end of the battle for kingship. Side mission? Friendly reminder, don't be too curious. Difficulty, ominous. As the panel introduction ends, Shen Jian opened his eyes. Already appeared in a huge white manor. A tall building full of medieval style is located here. The castle is very high, and there is a pointed spire at the top that goes straight into the clouds. It looks like it has been enlarged to equal proportions. While Shen Jian was observing, the player base exploded. Are you kidding me? 30 people in the dungeon. The difficulty of the dungeon is ominous. What the hell is this? Special dungeons should also be marked with difficulty. Hey, you have misunderstood the point. The point is the main mission. What does the battle for the king mean? We are not going to participate in the ghost war in the horror world, are we? Some players collapsed immediately after seeing the panel introduction. Shen Jian looked over. The 30 players are a mixed bag. There are level 10 players and there are level 20 players. Some players are not even level 10. No wonder they collapsed. The difficulty of the 10-player dungeon is already the most dangerous mode, and the 30-player dungeon can be regarded as a player elimination machine. How many people survive depends on luck. Yamluo, we meet again. At this time, a familiar voice came. Shen Jian looked over. ID Ancient Instructor. He is the Daxia Dragon Bird instructor that he met in the Feast of the Past dungeon. It's a coincidence that the first time I encountered a special dungeon was at the Villa of the Past. I didn't expect that the second time I encountered a special dungeon, I would meet you again. Instructor Gu laughed at himself. Shen Jian. Do you know what the battle for the king is? Shen Jian asked. There is a brief introduction in Daxia Longke, and it was learned from the incident of the Ghost King's arrival in Lekang. It is said that every ghost who is promoted to the Ghost King will go through a challenge. Only if he successfully passes it can he be recognized by the public, and if he fails, he will be recognized by the public. The territory he leads will be annexed together, and he himself will become nourishment and be swallowed up by other Ghost Kings. The ancient instructor explained. Shen Jian was slightly startled, and then his voice rose a little higher. You mean, a ghost king will appear here? The ancient instructor said without knowing why. Yes, because of this, the difficulty of the dungeon will become ominous. According to my judgment, as long as you stay in this manner, the difficulty of the dungeon will be normal. If the king of the ice and snow castle wins, then it's just a normal copy. If the opponent wins, the ice and snow castle will be annexed by the opponent, and the difficulty will naturally become ominous. After listening, Shen Jian's eyes moved. I didn't expect that. This would be his opportunity to unlock the 12 levels of hell. And the king of the ice and snow castle refers to the mother of the little snow ghost? Shen Jian felt moved. Just then, the castle gate opened. The player group instantly became quiet. I saw a female ghost wearing a housekeeper uniform walking over. Don't be stunned. The ice and snow castle will enter the war preparation stage next. Your task is to help other people in the manor. The housekeeper acted resolutely, explaining various matters. Finally, he said with a serious face, remember, the area you can move is only on the first floor. The second floor is where the master rests. You don't need to clean it. The master doesn't like strangers getting too close. So, the housekeeper's sharp and sinister voice suddenly rose 8 degrees, like a heavy hammer falling on the player's heart. If you don't want to turn into an ice sculpture and become an exhibit, it's best not to act without authorization, understand? Yet. Understood, the players said solemnly. They all found their own tools and prepared to work. The chat interface was full of wails. Holy shit, a butler turned out to be a red-clothed ghost. What kind of hell have we entered? The state of combat readiness is indeed a precursor to a war. No wonder it's a 30-man dungeon. These few lives are not enough. It's over, it's over. Shen Jian glanced at it and then looked away. In the frightened and horrified eyes of all the players, they caught up with the housekeeper who was leaving. Human, you'd better not. I'm the principal of Blood Moon High School and I'm here for a home visit. Home visit? Principal. The housekeeper's pupils shrank. Blood Moon High School is a large-scale supernatural place on the same level as Ice and Snow Castle. Even from the outside world, Ice and Snow Castle is a supernatural place where the family is in trouble, and it is not as good as the booming Blood Moon High School. And the other party is the principal of Blood Moon High School. Isn't he a dungeon master on the same level as the master? The thought of this. The housekeeper took a few steps back. He put his right hand on his chest and bowed respectfully. Dear principal of Blood Moon High School, your arrival has brought glory to the Ice and Snow Castle. I believe that the master will also welcome your arrival. Get up and tell me where the little snow ghost lives, and I will go find her myself. Shen Jian was also a little surprised. I didn't expect that the identity of the principal of Blood Moon High School could have such a great intimidation effect. Then he only uses it to coerce the wife, which is a bit of a waste. This. The housekeeper was a little hesitant, thinking that the master might be unhappy, but then she thought about it. With such a high status, he personally came to the Ice and Snow Castle for a home visit, so it would be rude to refuse. And the righteousness of the other person can also be seen from the shape of his face. How could such a big man not know the rules? So she said, Miss lives in the leftmost room on the second floor. Shen Jian nodded. Walk straight into the castle. The housekeeper suddenly thought of something. At this time, it seems that the lady has not returned yet. But after thinking about it, the other party was the principal of Blood Moon High School. How could he still not know the lady's school time? Worrying blindly. Thinking of this, the housekeeper suppressed the matter. The other side. Holy shit, what's going on? Why is that red-clad ghost so respectful to him? Damn it, it's too far away, I can't hear what's being said. Damn it, can you do whatever you want if you're handsome? The players were in an uproar. Incredible! The red-clothed ghost, who was extremely terrifying in the eyes of players, lowered his proud head and saluted a human being. This scene made countless players' pupils tremble. Even the ancient instructor was stunned for a moment. When he was at the villa of the past, he had seen Shen Jian being taken care of by a female ghost in charge and eating a soft meal. Now that he is in the ice and snow castle, how can you still eat a soft rice? Naturally, he didn't pay attention to what other people meant. Shen Jian went straight to the castle. The battle for the title of king was an unexpected surprise. His main purpose of coming to the ice and snow castle was to reproduce the number one drug and make it an important resource of the underworld. He needs the help of the owner of the ice and snow castle. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shi Yubuletin Chigua. Chapter 179. Not long after, Shen Jian walked up to the second floor. Came to the little snow ghost's room. It's me. Shen Jian said. Ah, master, you are here. There was an exclamation from inside. After a few more minutes, the door was opened. The little snow ghost who had taken a bath again appeared behind the door, his face pink from the heat. Because he was too anxious, his clothes were messy, and even his right shoulder was exposed. From Shen Jian's commanding perspective, he could just see a snowy scenery. Master, can you help my mother? I can. Little snow ghost bit her red lips and whispered something shyly in Shen Jian's ear. Trigger hidden plot mission. Hidden mission, participate in the battle for kingship and help the ice and snow castle survive the crisis. Task requirement, collect the 3 major red clothes in the ancient castle, 0/3. Note, this task is the first stage and will be unlocked later. Note, this task is the only designated hidden task and can unlock special permissions. Note, you have 1 minute to choose. Note, if refused, the player will be restricted to the ice and snow castle. On the scarlet panel, lines of prompts appeared. Shen Jian was slightly startled. This hidden mission was done as if she was afraid that he would refuse. There is also a limited time option available. Finally, he was told that if he refused, he would not be able to participate in this war. It's as if the horror game is afraid of his rejection, so it doesn't give him too much time to think. Shen Jian's lips curled up. Do you think that a ghost at the level of a ghost king can defeat him? Being underestimated. Accept. The words fell. The scarlet panel became even scarlet. The player has accepted the hidden plot mission. Wish players good luck. The panel disappears. Shen Jian lowered his head and met the raised head of little snow ghost. Tell me about the 3 red clothes in the ice and snow castle. There was a hint of anger on Xiao Suiwi's face. Those 3 old guys, relying on being the veteran figures before the ice and snow castle, have made things difficult for my mother in every possible way. Even now, they have not recognized my mother's identity as the owner of the ice and snow castle. Even though my mother is about to be crowned king, they are still arrogant and rude and refuse to go to war. Otherwise, together with the butler and the 4 red-clothed warriors, they will not be able to withstand the challenge of a ghost king. Shen Jian asked, aren't they worried about the ice and snow castle being annexed? They are fierce ghosts in red clothes. Even if the ice and snow castle is annexed, their identity will not change. They may even take a step closer. Naturally, they are indifferent to this. So, Shen Jian was thoughtful. This first phase of the mission is quite simple. It probably has nothing to do with thriller games, just normal mission requirements. The real key should lie in the Ghost King who comes to challenge. Shen Jian's eyes moved. I don't know how many Ghost Kings will come when the time comes, so don't just stick it between your teeth. With this thought, Shen Jian soon appeared in a small castle within the castle, led by Little Snow Ghost. No time to walk in yet. A violent commotion sounded in the castle. It was like two ghosts fighting fiercely. Xiaoxiugui explained, those are two of the red-clothed ghosts. They are a couple. Together they can rival a top red-clothed ghost. However, they don't get along happily. They often quarrel and sometimes even fight. Because of this, their castle doesn't even have a single servant, and no one wants to take care of it. Because those who tried to break up the fight are all dead. But even if the fight ended like this, they didn't get divorced. On the contrary, those outsiders were not human beings inside and outside. Over time, they were allowed to be like this. Shen Jian heard this. There was a look of eagerness in his eyes, and he immediately strode forward. Seeing this, Xiaoxiugui hurriedly stopped Shen Jian. Master, you can't stop them when they are quarreling. We have to wait until their anger has subsided before we can go in. Haha, there is no fight in this world that I can't persuade. The update is complete. Happy New Year to all book friends. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shi Buletin Chigua. Chapter 180. Seeing that he couldn't stop Shen Jian, Little Snow Ghost could only follow him. As he walked, he said, Master, you have to be mentally prepared later. The quarrel between these two red-clad ghosts is a quarrel, and a fight is a fight. They may seem at odds with each other at first glance, but in fact, they are very external and have bad personalities. Most of the so-called quarrels are to attract the people who want to break up the fight, and then use the couple's unique scaring techniques to make the people who go to break up the fight scream. Because of this, no one is willing to continue to break up the fight. Shen Jian nodded. It seems that they are not emotionally compatible and get into fights, but in fact they are very outward-looking, and quarrels are just a unique and scary habit of the couple. It can be seen from this that the relationship between the couple is actually very deep and it is difficult to poach them. Thinking. Shen Jian had already strode forward and knocked on the door. Soon the castle gate opened. It seemed that while the couple was fighting, they were still paying attention to the situation outside the door. When they saw the little snow ghost, the reaction of the two fierce ghosts was very dull. Instead, his eyes fell on Shen Jian, a human being. There was a hint of cunning in his eyes. What? The female ghost looked a little ugly and seemed to be angry. She was wearing a medieval aristocratic dress, and her charm was still there. She could barely be regarded as a golden flower. The yin qi on her body was majestic and surging. Just standing in front of her, it seemed that she could feel a vague supernatural power. Oppression. Human, you're here at the right time. It's up to you to judge. This woman is looking for trouble. She insists on quarreling with me over an old matter. If you can't argue, just do it. The male ghost inside yelled pitifully. The same medieval knight style, with a ghost weapon on the waist. Judging from the shape, it is a long knife. The same goes for female ghosts, but they are just ghost whips. Shen Jian's eyes moved slightly. He is worthy of being a red-clothed level fierce ghost with a lot of background, and he is also equipped with a ghost weapon. With such strength combined, it is indeed enough to rival a top red-clad ghost. No problem. Shen Jian agreed wholeheartedly, I have successfully mediated many major conflicts. The parties involved were at risk of life and death and the quarrels were fierce. But after my mediation, they never had any conflicts again. Look, you guys, this is the certificate that I successfully reconciled the conflict. It also has their signatures on it. Shen Jian skillfully took out a blank book. The confidence revealed in his words and demeanor made the couple in red couldn't help but look at him a few more times. The other person seemed really professional. See this. I don't know why this woman is so crazy. When I come back late at night, I don't know how to cook a meal or hire a servant. I run out to play mahjong with a few gamblers every day. Do you still have this family in your heart? Night Ghost said excitedly. He vented his bitterness. When I told her about it, she got angry first and said that I deserved not to be able to eat when I came back so late. What did you say? I don't have this family in my heart. The female ghost in red was even more excited. You eat and drink and fool around outside all day long, and you don't leave home every day. Don't think that I don't know what you did. Why are you shouting so loudly? Come on, tell me, what did I do? Let me ask you, who is that little red from the theater? Why did he immediately hook up with you as soon as he saw you? They are quite close. Hear this. The night ghost's expression froze and he hesitated. Shen Jian spoke at this time. Sister-in-law, calm down. You know that theaters will use this method of providing benefits to attract repeat customers. This kind of thing is very common, and it may not be what you think. The night ghost looked at Shen Jian with a look of regret for meeting him late, and his heart was already thinking 666 for Shen Jian. A close friend. Why didn't he meet this talent earlier? Yes, it is their job for others to solicit customers like this, but as a married person, I have solemnly rejected them. Night Ghost said righteously. Female ghost in red. She looked at Shen Jian resentfully. There was already a bit of dissatisfaction in his eyes. Just you will explain. At this time. But the maids in the manor should pay attention. There is a saying that a maid who doesn't want to be the mistress is not a good servant. Shen Jian seemed to blurt out the words inadvertently. Night Ghost. Grass. Why are you telling her this? You're afraid it won't light a fire, right? Upon hearing this, the female ghost in red seemed to have thought of something. She frowned and her face turned gloomy. Okay, I remembered that 3 new servants came to our castle last month. Not to mention, they are all female. It's in line with your preferences. I wanted to scare them, but you said you were busy with work that month and didn't have time to play with me. Now that I think about it, you clearly want to hide the girls in the golden house. Where did you hide them? Okay, hide the girls in my house. You will be successful. The voice of the female ghost in red became shrill. There was a hint of real fire. This. The night ghost scratched his hair and was speechless for a moment. Sister-in-law, the eldest brother may just be inspecting the maid's work. He doesn't want you to know, and he also wants to prevent you from worrying. It doesn't matter if he works harder or is tired. Shen Jian spoke again to persuade. Night Ghost's eyes lit up. Yes. He gave Shen Jian a thumbs up behind his back. The woman opened her mouth. They say a man's mouth is a liar. Today she finally knew what it meant to tell lies with open eyes. It's not you who made up such nonsense. For a while, she couldn't stand Shen Jian's forced explanation. After calming down his emotions and preparing to start the second wave of output, Night Ghost slapped the table and said, "You have the nerve to accuse me, but what about you? Every time I come back, I hear my neighbor say, you brought a certain man in again home. Have you done enough bad things?" The woman also stood up and retorted, "Don't talk about things without evidence, but it is a fact that you hide your beauty in a golden house." "Evidence," Night Ghost sneered, "let's go, I will take you to see the evidence." With that said, he stood up and walked to the master bedroom. The 4 of them stood in front of a closet. Night Ghost opened the door, revealing a man's body hanging inside. The face had begun to rot, exposing the flesh and bones. The neck was tied and hung on the wardrobe. The pale eyes were bulging, as if watching several people. Little Snow Ghost subconsciously grabbed Shen Jian's clothes. Li Gui kills people for nourishment. There are very few people who play with corpses like this, or even deliberately play with corpses, unless they have special hobbies like this couple. The couple looked at the young lady with a sad look and smiled on their faces. But when they saw Shen Jian's reaction, their smiles suddenly froze. Because after seeing the male corpse, Shen Jian's eyes clearly lit up, and he subconsciously moved closer to observe. Then he showed a hint of disgust and shook his head. Night ghost. Female ghost in red. What the hell are you excited about? What does it mean to shake your head in disgust? It's a bit disrespectful of our scary results. Are you the man your wife brought back? Shen Jian turned around and asked. The night ghost nodded, yes, I hide someone in the closet blatantly. Tell me, what will other people in the manor think of me? Shen Jian nodded. This is indeed my sister-in-law's fault, but don't be angry, brother. I think this man must be 1.87 meters tall. He is taller and stronger than you, brother. He looks much better. My sister-in-law will be tempted. It's also excusable. Hear this. The night ghost opened his mouth. I wanted to say something, but found I couldn't refute it. But if you say it directly, it will hurt my face too much. Think about it this way. When the night ghost looked at his wife again, he was also a little angry and sneered, you are quite good at picking things. But think about it. It's not easy to meet a human who is not afraid of death and dares to come here. Now is not the time for marital conflicts to break out. So he forcibly changed the subject, bringing the topic back to the scary atmosphere. Let's not talk about this for now. Let me ask you, you play mahjong every day, where is the child I asked you to take care of? After saying that, he looked at Shen Jian and the two of them and said angrily, you can't imagine that this stupid woman ran out to play mahjong, left the child at home, and crawled outside. When I came back, the child had drowned in the artificial lake. Inside. Tell me, is there anyone who can be a mother or a wife like this? Come on, I'll take you to see the kids. Hear this. Xiaoxugui's face became increasingly weird. She looked at Shen Jian frequently, wondering what his plans were. Because the couple seems to be quarreling, but every time the verification process is full of horror, revealing a weird and sinister atmosphere, it almost scares the person trying to stop the fight to death. This was exactly the same as what she knew. To this, Shen Jian did not respond. Just follow all the way to the artificial lake. The night ghost stretched out his hand and grabbed the body of a bloated child that had turned into a fat man from the artificial lake, and brought it directly to the two of them. Rotting, dirty corpse water kept dripping down. Let little snow ghost retreat subconsciously. A look of panic flashed across his face. Seeing this, the couple both laughed sinisterly. It's not their child anyway, so it's naturally as scary as it gets. Sure enough, it scared people. Shen Jian looked expressionless and asked, sister-in-law, is this really the case? Roughly the same. The woman's words were stagnant, and she suddenly started to cry again, is it easy for me to be a woman? I take care of my children every day and do this and that at home, and this damn guy stays at home all day and night, fooling around outside. I won't do anything like this if something like this happens. It feels so good, but instead of trying to comfort me, he wants to scold me. The knight's face was so gloomy that it almost dripped with tears. Is this the reason why you don't take your children with you to play mahjong? You play mahjong with a ball. I really want to beat you to death. The moving night ghost moved the real fire, and Shen Jian also quickly spoke to comfort. Brother, don't be angry. It's really not easy for my sister-in-law. Think about it, how inconvenient it is to play mahjong with a child. And if you just want to play mahjong, you can hold the child in your arms. But in case my sister-in-law has some other entertainment activities, it is always inconvenient to have children around. Sister-in-law, this is also for the sake of the child. Upon hearing this, the night ghost seemed to think of something, and his eyes widened. That's right, I wouldn't have thought it until you told me. Those gamblers are all singles and doing hard labor. Why don't you take your children with you when you go to play mahjong? How many humming things have you done behind my back? He yelled suddenly, bloodshot eyes appeared. Why are you shouting so loudly? The woman also became angry, but her expression revealed a stern and reserved feeling, which seemed a little lacking in confidence. I don't take care of the child because the child is already 3 months old and there is no problem at home. Don't think nonsense. You for 3 months. The night ghost only felt a layer of green envelope, his whole body was shaking with anger, and he slapped him. Okay, how dare you hit me? The woman covered her face and looked at the man in disbelief. It seemed that she didn't expect that he was actually serious. She screamed and roared, I've never been mad before. Said. He directly smashed the little fat boy in his hand over his head and face. Not to be outdone, Night Ghost pounced on him, punching and kicking him. Under Shen Jian's patient persuasion, the couple's inner anger completely exploded, and they struggled wildly. Unlike before, they were really angry and merciless, even more ruthless than a fight between strangers. The little snow ghost looked on in shock. Is this your professional mediation? A simple act escalated directly into a life and death fight. Want to eat? At this time, Shen Jian pulled little snow ghost back a few steps, and then handed over a plate of dried fruits. Little snow ghost? Your equipment is quite complete. On purpose. Master, don't you want to mediate conflicts? Xiaoxiugui said weakly. See it? Shen Jian explained, think about it, what is the source of the conflict? It is nothing more than the anger in the stomachs of both parties, allowing them to vent their dissatisfaction and anger. Will the conflict be resolved naturally? Little snow ghost? Master, if they fight too hard and one party kills the other, what should we do? Shen Jian asked strangely, if the party causing the conflict dies, won't there never be any conflicts between the two people? Cheer, have you realized it? Little snow ghost. She silently took note of her master's words, she must be able to tell lies. The other side. The couple fought more and more fiercely, and the woman scratched the man's face and blinded one eye. The man opened a big hole in the woman's head, black and red blood dripped down, and the cold atmosphere exuded made the atmosphere more anxious. But at this time, there was some confusion in the man's eyes, as if he felt something was wrong. The script doesn't seem like it should be like this. See it? The 5 ghost eyes on the back of Shen Jian's hand revived. Next moment, Shen Jian disappeared on the spot. When he reappeared, there were already 4 more beautiful maids around him, half covered and half exposed. The 4 maids were panicked by their sudden appearance in the castle. Especially after seeing Shen Jian who came to catch them, they showed a hint of fear and subconsciously called out to the night ghost not far away. Master! 4 delicate screams sounded. Night ghost! Grass! His face turned green when he saw the 4 maids appearing. And after the woman saw all this, also fell into complete madness. He had already taken out the ghost whip on his body and hit the night ghost. Don't go too far, the night ghost said in a deep voice. But the woman had lost her mind, and her body was filled with the terrifying supernatural power of a red-clothed ghost. For a while, the 2 red-clad fierce ghosts fought together again. Yin is permeating the air. Blood and broken flesh flew everywhere. Horrible screams and wails intermingled.